start Saturday.
Just a heads up.
Your practices.
Yeah, evaluation that night for the.
With y'all's permission.
So we haven't done it, we're just going here.
No, we're gonna ask for something.
I know we don't have.
No.
Oh, we're doing Okay. So that's all we do?
It's something.
Yeah.
We just have one team. Three. We're gonna play just for one again. We're gonna play the county. Okay, good.
So everybody gets on the same line?
Yeah.
But that used to be done outside. So we're just looking, make sure this is exactly what we need.
Yeah. There you got,
We're measuring twice and cut.
that's what you got. You should have two sheets of that already. Okay, right there.
That's all I have. That's what I was asking.
You got this.
Okay, let's see, I was thinking maybe that.
They added,
Okay,
yeah, there
you're
were
right,
two.
you're right, that was,
These two sheets were added.
yeah, so it was just one sheet, you're right. I'm thinking about the other thing.
So how do we just allow? I guess for my question is for the committee, how much detail do we get? Do we just give everybody a chance to look over?
Or however you want to do with it, or have Joe tell you what he's doing, we just want y'all to be comfortable with that.
Gotcha.
This is what we're having.
This is something else.
So,
This is 2 minutes. All right, that makes sense. So, 2 minutes.
At this time, we'll call to order the City Council Committee's meeting of November 26, 2018. We will allow the invocation and pledge of allegiance from the previous call meeting to carry over. At this time, I would, for the sake of Mr. Wilson's schedule tonight, he has basketball evaluations going on at 6 p.m. for the upcoming basketball season. So I would entertain a motion from the council to modify the agenda and move the Recreation Committee to the very beginning so that he can take care of his schedule over there at the rec department.
I make a motion, we move the recreation committee up to the top.
Second.
All in favor, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All right, so Recreation Committee is chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Richard Bradley.
All right, you should have had 2 sheets there on the table. And, Joe, can you give us a quick, it's 5 fields, right?
Yes.
Field 1, field 2, 3, 4, and field 7. This is the complete removal of the fencing and new fencing that's put up at each of those places. This is the specs for what he is doing. I know you haven't had those very long, but if you'll, take a couple of minutes and look over that. Joe's here to answer any questions that we might have about it. This is kind of in line with what we've been talking about, getting that bad fencing down and getting the new fencing up.
Question then,
Yes, if you have a question, yeah.
who wrote the spec sheet and who did the measurement? Did you take care of that?
Yes.
Are we sending out RFPs or are you making phone calls to fence companies or how are you getting the word out?
Well, we're going to supposedly put a ad out for sealed bids. Mr. Osborne also said that the companies that we were already working with, to send them a copy of that as well. The 3 companies that I've been dealing with, I'll send copies of that to them as well.
And the reason I ask, we've got one fence company within the city that has a business here, and I like to always include any business within the city, so.
Absolutely.
Have you dealt with them before?
Which one is that?
L&L, down on 78, L&L Fence Company,
I think I'm familiar with that.
right there on the left as you're going out of town, and the little industrial building there.
I'm not.
Is there another one within the city?
No, we had a J4 Construction. That was the fencing company that I knew of that was in Temple. But we can, by all means, get it out to them as well.
I'd like to
Make sure that
local as we can,
Yes.
and support our local business.
we'll
So just make
seal
sure
bid,
that,
but then we'll make sure they get it and there's all, we'll end up with getting the bids and then y'all make the decision as to what you want to do. We do have the sheet that was in your books when you picked them up last week. Basically is that what we will do is that we will issue the bids next week, deadline to receive bids around the 20th to 21st of December. Be ready to make a report to you at your committee meetings and ready for y'all to take action on it on this regular voting meeting on Monday, January 7th.
Any other questions? Joe, do you have any comment or anything?
No, this is, like I said, I went out there, I measured. You see a lot of approximates, because that's what I got for measuring, so it may not be the exact distance. That's what I came with. And I'm sure that, any company that comes out to, that does it, they'll measure it.
So we should be good. Okay, anyone else have a question? If not, Mr. Mayor, that's it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Wilson.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
It started, today they came to start on the playgrounds. So he said Friday, latest Monday, they should have everything in place.
Hey, I do have a question. I bet it's the same one you're about to ask. The old playground, there's some pieces of equipment missing out there.
Yes.
Are those going to be replaced?
Yes, we got a new piece of equipment, all-inclusive piece, the spinner that's gonna be there for, kids with disabilities and everything.
No, I'm talking about in the old.
Yes, that's
Okay.
one there, and then they're putting an inclusive swing and new swing sets in there.
In there, in the old one?
Yes.
All right.
That's where the money left over from the $65,000.
Yes, that's, all that included.
Okay, I just knew there were a couple of pieces that were gone,
Yeah.
the poplar pieces.
We just removed those because, you know, if they did it, it was like an extra 4,000 or 5,000.
All right, anything else?
That's it.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Brightman. All right. Budget and Finance Committee, chaired by Councilwoman Karen Nivens.
Yes, so the first thing is we're going to review the process for completing the budget preparations with Ms. Cynthia and Mr. Ken. We'll just let them go down the list.
On that item, we pretty much reviewed everything. We've met all of our requirements as far as advertisement is concerned. The ordinances are prepared and ready. Our public hearings are scheduled and have been completed the first on December. So next Monday, December 3rd, everything is prepared and ready to go. And as long as there are no changes to what has been presented, then the mayor and council will be ready to adopt an FY19 budget for general fund, water, and for capital.
Next one's on you, Mr. Johnson. It says you're going to discuss the budgets and on the schedule for presenting amendments.
Well, are there any final discussions? I think we've already covered that as far as, yes, ma'am.
I just have one add-on for the amendment. And Mr. Osborne, myself, and Kenneth have talked about fiscal year amendments. And in 17-18, we didn't follow what your normal schedule would be. And that was because I was coming in, people had left, Casell, and just, it was just a very confusing time. For FY18 and for budgets going forward, my recommendation is that you look at your budget amendments at the completion of FY18 at your January committee meetings. That gives your finance staff time to close out all expenditures. The department heads have already been requested to get all of their expenditures in by December 15th of this year. So the idea is to have a clean close for FY18 by the end of January. And that's not exceptional. That's about a 30-day period to close invoices. And have a very accurate number on your total expense budget. So, and then your finance director would then present you with your 2018 amendments at the January work session committee meeting, with you voting and approving those in February. Then the budget is closed, and then he can start preparing for the audit. That would be the right kind of schedule for you to follow for that.
Sounds good. Any questions on that topic? All right.
All right, so number 3 is report on the November 13th, 2018 BNY Mellon Bond payment invoice is scheduled for the payment process.
If y'all will take one of these and pass them around. What you have in your book, there is a tab that has the invoice that we have received from BNY Mellon, Bank of New York Mellon, who holds the water service bond. And what I'm giving you, Kenneth and I spent some time this afternoon making sure that all of our payments and the balance on the debt account was accurate and complete. So you see our payment schedule, how we've distributed each month, the transfer from the water fund to the debt service account, and the running balance as we've completed each of those transactions. You'll also see in June, we paid our first interest payment along with wire transfer fees and your bank service charges. In August, you see the transfer of the SPLOST money that was approved in your fiscal year 2017. Then in September, you see the transfer of the SPLOST money for fiscal year 2018 budget. And then the deposit into the debt savings money market account of the $650,000. So those are the transfers and transactions for your debt fund. As we come to the end of the year, as you can see by the invoice, the City of Temple has a payment of $523,882.50. That payment is scheduled to be made on December 21st of 2018. We will complete the wire transfer with Synovus Bank to BNY Mellon. That leaves you the balance, the cash balance in the debt service account of $231,247.24 to roll into FY19, in addition to your money market. So that's how we will close out the bond payments for this year.
Any questions?
Then there wouldn't be another payment until June of next year. for the interest
That's
payment.
correct. Yes, sir.
And hopefully before then, we will have a new payment.
Yes, have a whole new schedule.
Okay, so the next one is report on the plan transition for fiscal services. Ms. Geyer, and you, Finance Director, Mr. Kenneth, Mr. Osborne.
Well, basically, I think everybody's aware that the transition has been underway now. This is the second week, and they're working to do this. We've got a few more days that Cynthia will be working with Ken on the process of completing the handoff from her to him. So I think that's going effectively. I told Ken I felt good this morning when I saw him walking here in the building. I want to be sure that he actually was coming back from Albany at the start of the week. But we are, like I say, in the process of moving to the completion of that transition, which will take place during the month of December. And I appreciate all that Cynthia has done for us. But she won't be here next Monday night, so this may or may not be the last night that she's with us in terms of a meeting. So if y'all want to throw rocks at her, this may be a good time to do it, or whatever. But I do appreciate the opportunity to work with her, and I think she came in and was a lifesaver for Temple in a number of ways.
I've enjoyed it.
All right, so the next one is a brief updated report on the City of Temple's 2017 fiscal year audit.
Okay. I have a short list of items that I'll be working on Wednesday when I come in. Robin did email me today and say that she could be at the city Thursday afternoon this week with the intent of hopefully wrapping up that short list. And so at that time, I'm hoping, Mr. Osborne's hoping that, of course, when he wants to hear from her when she leaves, I'll have a report to you as soon as possible. But we'll know better after we work together on Thursday afternoon. But she does come in this week, so that's good. Yes.
Let me kind of add to the report on the audit. If you'll flip over to the next tab, you should see a memo to the mayor and myself, city audit and water bond financing, because there is a direct relationship on these. And just to pick up with what Cynthia has reported to you, that we know that this has been a difficult audit for the auditors to work on, but we are very hopeful that we're about to enter the home stretch. If you remember, we did get a state approved a revised deadline for us, which is the end of December. So we certainly are wanting to be sure we get that audit filed with the state before the end of December. And we do need that audit completed, which I'll talk about a little bit more with the next item.
All right. So the last item for finance is an updated report from Raymond and James and Associates concerning the refinancing of the City of Temple's water bond debt and the decision to be considered in December by the City Council and the Carroll County Water Authority.
You'll look down near the bottom of that first page of the memo that there is obviously and understandably the Carroll County Water Authority wants to see the results of our 2017 audit before it considers how it moves forward with us on any refinancing arrangements. And as Bill Camp sent me a memo the other day that asking when is the audit going to be completed, because once we get that done, then they can start dealing with marketing on the bond issue. The consultant to the Carroll County Water Authority at the bottom of the bottom of the page is William Johnston. It should be Stevens, S-T-E-P-H-E-N-S. Basically, he is asking when will the audit be available, and saying when the audit's available, he'll put together a timetable for Bill Camp to look at, run it by the authority. Once both parties are in agreement, we can proceed. And so it is important that we get the audit ready to look at. I had hoped that we would be in a position for you to take some action on December 3rd. That is overly optimistic at this point. Could be a special call meeting later in the month. This is a complicated process, as I think you can appreciate, and I did attach exchange of emails between Bill Camp and Bill Johnson, just showing you kind of what we're working through. But the good part is both the city of Temple and the Water Authority are working to try to get this done. And obviously, we have said that we feel like it would be best if we can go through the Water Authority. And the Water Authority obviously wants to be sure that they're on solid financial position as we go through. As to when we will be able to have those meetings, Dawn, I'm not sure. It depends on when we get the audit. So once we get the audit, and it can be looked at, and one of the things they're going to be looking at is the improvements that we've made toward, because there's the expectation, which I think is realistic, on the 1.05 ratio, to be able to achieve that and then maintain that. That's where we are at the moment, and if there are questions on either one of those topics, Cynthia and I'll be glad to try to respond.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add a number 7 to just a quick update. Ms. Cynthia's going to talk about that $312,000 that we have just sitting there not drawing interest. She's checked on the money market account, so she'd like to go over that, what we can do with that while we're waiting on those, the water meters to get our RFPs and all done.
Any objection?
None.
Go ahead.
All right, Synovus Bank, we opened a water savings money market account about 2 months ago when we moved the $204,000 out of Bank OZK. That money is at a 1.45% return. It is fine for us to add the $312,000 to the existing money market, so it would just go into a account. We wouldn't open a new one. The issue is that you have to consider is when we negotiated with the bank for zero service charges, we agreed to hold a certain average balance of operating funds. So what this equates to is by taking $312,000 out of the water fund, which is earmarked just for meter replacement, and I've told Ms. Bibbins and Mr. Walden before, it's kind of it doesn't interpret well that your water fund balance is that high when actually 312,000 is not in your daily operating fund. So anyway, so if you take that 312 off the top, we are going to go below the required average balance and have approximately $70 a month in a bank service charge. Until that average balance for, as revenues increase, y'all are gonna get a nice property tax payment in December. That may, bump you back over, but just realize it's a possibility. And it may get to about 70,000. Those numbers, that average balance changes all the time. But your, and there goes Mr. Alden with that calculator, I love it. But the interest earnings will increase by approximately $300, we were looking, a month. So obviously the 70 or less bank service charge is offset completely by the interest earnings that you'll have.
That's what I was.
Yes, I know you were. I've been working with you for a while now. So anyway, so that is the update. It would just take a transfer. It's a very simple transaction. So if you'd like to consider it, may I recommend you have it on the December 3rd agenda for consideration. Okay, and that's all.
Okay. If no questions, that concludes our finance committee.
Thank you. All right, brings us to the work committee, chaired by Councilman Tom Wallace.
Okay, number one on the agenda for that is approval of the final list of 2019 street resurfacing and improvement projects to be submitted to the Georgia Department of Transportation for funding assistance under its local maintenance and improvement grant. The LD program. Mr. Everhart.
I'm going to pass around spreadsheet.
They've got that in the books also, Dwayne.
Oh,
Go
we
ahead.
do?
Yeah, we do.
That's fine, where it's at.
Okay, Mayor and Council, you submitted a couple of streets to me, and we also actually looked at some streets that we did not get to do on the 2018 LD list. Those are included. I did add the Western Canyon because as you see, once we did the total came up to 64627. And what I have done also, I've also reached out and tried to get in the process of getting a quote for Green Street, because we have an additional $5K to actually spend for the LMA. And if you guys want to submit me a street, I can go ahead and do so. But my plans are to have this completed by at least by Friday. So it could be in your workbook, something like that.
The other part of this is I've got a memo, is that, as Dwayne has calculated for you, because the Old Greenland Road is such a long street, that would take all of your money and a little bit more. And while we can come up, I'm sure, with that little bit more, the question is, do you want to put all your eggs in that one basket? One thing that I haven't talked with Dwayne about, but I did put in your note here, was that if you wanted the possibility of deciding, okay, this is the most needful part of Old Greenland Road, we could do this part of it. I'm not sure how that would be looked at. Dwayne may be able to tell us from the GDOT in terms of whether they look at you doing the whole road or what. But you do have some pieces mix and match that we do need to wrap up.
Well, Old Brandon Road should hold for another year or so, I would think. It's not that crucial.
Because I'm at one place where the water leak tends to happen over and over again.
That's underground.
Nothing can be done about
We
it.
have a pipe that runs the kitchen, but every now and then they get stopped at. So if you guys want to submit a street, Ridge Street is already in here, but that's part of Tennessee Street. This is what I was looking at. I said Ridge Street. Tennessee Street that actually comes into the street. But again, if you guys want to sit here another street, I can do so. But again, it's about 5K that we're looking at.
That's left,
Just
to do one.
Any other questions?
Go back to one thing, Wayne said, in terms of your GDOT deadline, did I understand you say that we need to get this done this week?
By December 31st. I have
Okay,
to
so we got
submit
it.
it by
Okay.
December 31st.
I couldn't remember what you said, if it was the end of November, the end of December, so what they do need to do though is to make their final decision, but not later than their Monday night meeting.
Unless there's a special call meeting, go on a special call.
Where's Buchanan up there? I don't go down that street. There's only one house on it. Is that road in that bad shape?
It can use some paving, but again, I was trying to, come up with because at first it was 10,000, but once I got the cost estimate for that, it was 4,800. But it can use, it's kind of alligator, it's not that bad, but it can definitely pave it.
No traffic on that.
Right.
And Ms. Holder, I think, is the only
Ms.
house.
Holder's the only house that's on there, but it's that house that sits up against the fence, that sits up against that backyard kind of puts up against it. Yeah, it's on basically one house.
Anything else? Okay, let's move on to number 2. Consider adding the Schoolhouse Trace residential community to the list of communities of the city of Temple where the roadway and infrastructure improvement project fee is charged when the new housing unit is permitted for construction. Mr. Osborne.
You will, the memo that we were just referring to says 2 agenda items. First, we talked about this, which was the LBA. On the second page, we talk about the roadway and infrastructure improvement project. When we had talked about this a couple of months ago, Schoolhouse Trace, we removed from current consideration. Mr. Walden had pointed out there was no construction activity over there at this time. I had a 3-person delegation to come to see me recently, residents there. Of course, that's pretty much a senior living community. And if you've been over there and looked at the situation in that little townhouse development, it's about the same kind of bad shape as we had on the Iverson Place there at Tiffany Mill. And one of these ladies that came in the other day, she'd fallen walking on the street. Now, part of that is a matter of aging, and a balance is probably not as good as it was, but it's also very uneven. And I would simply submit to you that I think we need to take a look at this. And Wayne and George had looked at the cost. As you can see, about $14,000. And this with the contingency, it's a little over $1,300. But I have not gone back to check to see, but I'm thinking when we do, we may find that the final plat on that thing has been accepted by the city. I'm not sure. But I do worry about the condition of the street and them having made contact with us in terms of somebody falling as to what our liability situation would be. I think we need to look into it for sure.
Mr. Bradley.
How many lots are in there?
Well, I've got here that there's about 15 empty lots. There's about 9, I think it's like 9 or 10 that have been built, so a little less than half.
Regardless of what we do, it would still be like almost this time next year before the county would just do it to pay it, right?
Well, if we do it like Tiffany Mills, I think that's a separate situation. I think they will expedite that process if we were to do like we did Tiffany Mills.
But then we're gonna have to find the money.
Right, somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, because the bottom line is unlike Tiffany Mill where we had 2 lots that we had collected on, we don't have any money that's been paid. Well, we haven't had the fee yet, but I don't know that they've got any construction getting ready to start. My concern is that at some point, we need to do it, and it is in bad shape, and considering the residents that live in that area, it creates a little bit of additional hazardous situation.
So y'all are proposing we go ahead and do it as soon as we can, and then when they start building, just collect the $1,306 per lot.
Yes, so basically that y'all would need to add that to the list, once we get it added to the list, so that we notify the owner, as we did in the previous ones, and so we did, if we needed upfront the money, like we did on 50 Mill, the idea that we'd be repaid as lots of development. But something I think you need to think about. It is a little different situation, like I say, because of the kind of population that you've got living.
I was just gonna say, sir, you're asking to add this to
So we would need to get an ordinance and have it in our packet, and have it posted on the website before 3 days.
Yes, sir. In other words, we'd have to go through the process like we did with Lakeside.
that's pretty bad. Those streets.
It's bad, no doubt.
Yes, some part of the aggregate base is exposed. The fire chopping is not necessarily in some places.
I say put it on the agenda.
That'll be Ken's problem.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, number 3, consider the selection of a company to install a new heating and air conditioning system in the Temple City Hall after receiving the proposal submitted by pre-qualified companies. Mr. Allen.
Hey, if you go back to your next tab, it says HVAC at City Hall. And then you've got an additional sheet that we'll be putting in there. But we've been having some problems here, I think, as you know, in City Hall here. Also, Madison Smith, that we've been using on a lot of things in the years, they recently took a look at the situation here at City Hall and came back, and their recommendation was to replace what we have. We asked Addison Smith to submit a proposal to us. We also contacted, I said 2 other companies, actually we contacted 3 other companies. And we have proposals from those 3 companies. I do not have a proposal from Addison Smith. And they knew what the deadline was. We called them 2 or 3 times last week and said, get your proposal in, have not received it. And it makes me nervous even looking at receiving a proposal from them now, because you've got these 3 companies, they've given us proposals, we've given them to you. And not saying any of us can be talking about it, but I don't know if they have any interest or not. But the bottom line is this. Down at the bottom of the page, you can see that in terms of comparing apples and apples, you can see with each company, they've identified what they would be proposing to do. And we are talking about essentially the same size unit. Dwayne can talk with you far better than I in terms of looking at what may be involved. The unit is up in the attic. There's some question as to how difficult it would be to remove it. and what might have to be done structurally to get it out of the attic. Of course, the other part is just from a layman, from my standpoint, I don't know that you move it. You just disconnect it, seal it off, leave it where it is, not hurting anything if it stays there. And might even the unit, whether we put it as an interior unit or outside next to the building, I'm not sure what we would do. But what you got at the moment is two companies that have given us quotes in your book: Comfort Solutions Heating and Cooling from Douglasville, Ragsdale Heating and Air from Dallas, and then what we got in today that I've given you to be put in your books is the West Georgia HVAC. Now, the big difference on this, you'll see a big price difference. But West Georgia HVAC is what they are proposing to do, is to do work on removing this unit from the attic and having to replace section of the roof and everything. That was the way that they looked at the project. Now, I don't know that what we've got at this point is apples and apples with this third proposal. And that's something for y'all to think about. I will tell you the other part that you see on the second page of my note, Cynthia, what we looked at is that we do know that in the budget, we talk about some funds being transferred from the water fund to the general fund because there are services during the year that those of us here in City Hall, for example, provide, that Dwayne, for example, provides to water and sewer operations, and that we all pay now in the general fund. And we've got in the budget up to $118,000 to be transferred to the general fund. So that's where we would be looking at taking that. I've got a copy of Cynthia's email to you. We wanted to bring this to you in a sense. We want to get it done. It's kind of cold, especially back in that area for the ladies who would get this done, but we are talking about a pretty good decision. We felt like y'all needed to be involved and then decide which one.
Oh, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
All three of these have removable equipment. All three of the proposals. Removable equipment from Comfort Solution. Are they looking at perhaps taking that thing apart and bringing it down?
I cannot tell you what each one's going to do. The only one that's mentioned to me about being a major construction project is the one that the West Georgia HVAC.
Well, the West Georgia one says a roof modification for the extraction of it, which means they just gonna take the roof off, take it out, put a new roof on it.
There is a bold printed note on Ragsdale, exclusions, seating repair at closed downstairs. So evidently they factored in tearing up something to get it out, but they're not committing themselves to putting it back in order.
Go ahead. I'll shed some light on that. I talked to a couple of Comfort Solutions, is looking at bringing the old unit out through removing some ceiling tiles and some grid. Now, I don't know if they've got to take that out in order to get the other one in, or in order to get the old one out. Now, if they don't have to do anything to get the new equipment in, then we could just leave the old stuff up. On this one, Jason Ragsdale, I talked to him about the exclusion of ceiling repair, and that's what that entails. He tells me that they would have to take the entire fold-down steps out, plus take the trim off, plus cut out some cheaper. And that's what they're excluding, is that they would put the steps back in, but they wouldn't do any repairs on the sheetrock. So what we need probably Mr. Osmond to find out is if
That information on this,
Yeah,
and
if
not
that-
given to one person.
if they can take the new equipment up the stairs and just leave the old stuff up there.
Why wouldn't we just put the heat pump on outside on the ground and not try to go upstairs? Why wouldn't we do that, and let's just not even worry with upstairs if we're gonna redo it anyway? We gotta according to this, we gotta redo all of the pipings and stuff anyway. Why would we not just leave that alone and put it outside on the ground? Because if we go back to try to remodel this building or add on to it, that's gonna be an issue to have it in the ceiling.
Of course, you replace the outside condenser, you've got to replace the air handler
Up there.
top, yes, and the evaporator coil. Because
Yeah, the
it
coil
has
and
to,
all
has
that
to
big
match
up.
with the new Freon, 14 Freon.
But there's not a way to run it out without it staying in the ceiling? I'm just asking, I don't know.
And the ceiling is where the blower and the evaporator coil, the air handler, heat strips and all that is.
Think what would happen if if you switched to a unit that was all in one outside, you'd have to redo some duct work. Rerun it, reroute it, because it all has to come from that outside.
Self-contained.
Yeah, self-contained thing. So you win by not doing that, but then you lose by having to reroute the ductwork.
But I still want to know, I mean, they're aware of it and they put it clearly in here, remove old equipment. And what, they must have some kind of plan. Now, we know that Ragsdale, they're saying that whatever they damage they do, we got to repair. But it could be taken down, can it? I mean, it would be a problem, but you could take it down piece by piece.
Well, how about getting a new one up there?
Yeah, that's what.
I mean,
Yeah,
That's what we need
that
to
would be
find
a
out.
question.
because even if we leave the old one up there,
You gotta get
the new one's gotta go up there, and I would think you'd have to go in the same place you're gonna take it down from. It's gonna be the same size, more than likely.
Well,
So
the
you're
old
probably still gonna have to do some,
the old one's left up there, they have to sit beside it.
yeah,
Just leave it up there.
well, if they got room to do that, that's right. And it wouldn't be no problem. And then they'll just set the new one on top of where that one was.
And I think as Mr. Franklin said, we make more questions, right, and answers. But what actually happened on this is Addison Smith told us that we needed to replace what we had, and they gave us a proposal. We didn't want that to be the only thing we looked at. And so we made these other companies aware that we were looking.
But you set a deadline, right?
Well, we put the deadline of last Friday, so we would be able to provide the information to you tonight.
But we're not talking about back up, we're talking about going, finding out from these two exactly what it means to, remove old equipment, and get new equipment up.
Well, I think the key question for me, if you look at, now, Comfort Solutions apparently thinks they've got a plan that will be least intrusive as far as tearing up what we have. But if you even go to the extent of having to tear out ceiling in here to get in and out, my goodness, would it take $20,000 to restore that? I mean, good grief.
I think it just needs to be clarification. I think that we need clarification on what does it mean to remove old equipment? I mean, if they're going to take it out, and they put their new right back up in there, then these are decent prices. In fact, they're unbelievable prices for a 7.5 ton unit. On commercial.
I'm just, not curious why West Georgia went with the entering from the outside and in their plan.
Easiest. This one that was on the county.
That's expensive.
That was right here.
Right there.
Looks like that.
Right there it is.
You got your hand on
That's
it.
it.
Well, that's the easiest way to bring the crane in and take this one out and put yours in there.
Yeah.
And it's the easiest
Easy
way.
for them, but it's not so easy for us to learn.
But I mean, it would be the easiest for them.
Sure,
They just
sure.
take it in. That's probably what that one was put up there to begin with.
Yeah.
Now, these companies, are they thinking about a self-contained unit?
Now, that's a split system.
It has to be a split
Yeah,
system.
I got another concern too. We've got a heating and air company right here within the city that lives here and operates a business here. Did we not contact them, or are they not interested? All of these, none of these are in Gerald County.
And that I can't tell you, we can, I can follow up with that tomorrow, but,
You know, if we get it, I would like to have a quote from the local people. Sound good?
You talking about?
William Brown is on one right there. License heating and air. And he may not have any interest, but
what's,
our B&B, heating and air, B&B contractor. His name is William Brown. I was curious about, neither one of these companies listed the SEER rating, the SEDR ratings, I call them, kind of what it was. And one of them, Comfort Solutions, the SEER rating was 13 SEER. And Ragsdale is 14 SEER, which is, one SEER higher. Doesn't make a whole lot of difference.
I think we gotta have information on how they're gonna get them in and out. Be able to make any kind of decision. Like I say, price is pretty much, surprised me that they're that.
Well, the one price sounds really good.
Comfort Solutions,
Comfort Solutions, I mean, that's,
if they got something figured out, then the other stuff.
we need to, but we need to make sure that we're not stuck, you know, okay, we can tell you we repair.
Well, the warranty's right now.
No.
Yeah, the warranty's identical, except for the West Georgia.
They didn't say what kind of equipment they were
And
using.
the other equipment is probably comparable. The one's a reed.
Rude, and the other
one
one
is
was,
a carrier.
yeah,
Either
so
one, both of those would do it.
good
But
company.
you still got your same warranty.
But it still would be, that would be the thing to find out. Wayne, whoever, that would be the thing to find out. What do they mean by remove old equipment? And, you know, how they gonna get the new equipment in? And who's gonna pay for that?
Well, who was handling the quotes? Wasn't Cindy handling the,
It's
was
Cindy.
you?
What do you,
no,
There wasn't.
Cindy that made the contact. Part of this, like I say, just kind of grew. We had Addison Smith who we used to look at it and said, you need something new. And I said, we don't need just to get the proposal from them. And so we ended up,
But I hate to set a date on proposals and then, you know, we have three companies that do what they say, what they met the guidelines. I don't know how they were made aware of this, but if they would just call and said, hey, submit a proposal. If that's the way it was done, then I think that, you know, it would be wise to do something within the city limits. But if you specifically told them and you called them and asked them again, that's a no. If they wanted the business, they should have had it your own time. Because you went above and beyond with them, but you didn't go with any of the others. So I can see, you know, maybe, yeah, it's not fair to these three companies that did it right. But if they were called and asked to do this, I think that if we can legally do it, I think we should at least call B&B and see if they want to bid on it. I don't know if he does projects that big.
And Cindy may have called him, I don't know.
And he may not want to do projects that big, but I'm like Howard now, if these were just called, then call B&B, but find out how you gonna get it down, how you gonna fix it.
We need to
My
support-
understanding is these were just called.
We
Just
need,
call these, okay.
we need to support our local people.
Always, I think that should be a thing to go out to the department. It's always trying to do within the city limits first. You don't have to pay 20 extra prices for it.
Any other comments? That concludes the Public Works Committee.
Thank you, sir. All right, next is Personnel Committee chaired by Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Brown.
All right, this is really fast. The changes on the handbook will go to the attorneys, for them to put them in. That will be, all of that will be done, given back. Hopefully, I don't know how long that process is going to take, but you'll have a chance to see the finished product and bring it back to the committee meeting for the January, and if everybody's happy with it, we can then adopt it if it so be your choice. And that's pretty much it. Then we move on to what Kristen was on there also. Kristen, you had a report on
The phone system.
the telephone system.
There's not really much of a report. As y'all know, a few months ago, we were looking at Sync Global to redo our phones, but that's quite expensive. And we had a staff meeting last week, and the mayor suggested possibly looking at AT&T or Charter, who we currently use, to see what kind of updates they could do for us or possibly change in plans. So that's our next step, is checking those two places, and we hope to do that probably sometime this week. That's it.
With that, any questions or comments? We're finished, Mr. Mayor, ready to move on.
Thank you. All right, Public Safety Committee chaired by Councilman Howard Walton.
All right, first, number one, monthly report by the police department. Chief Lee.
He's over there flirting with that.
He's already submitted a report to us. Anything that the chief wants to add? Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, sir.
Sandra, can I ask you a question about the well waiting? Sandra, did you have anything other than just your report?
Questions for the chief or anything you might want to add?
I'll let you know. We got one of the cars being worked on, hopefully we'll be done with it in a couple of weeks or so. And the other car hadn't got out off the line yet. So he said we should have it before Christmas. And then once we get that, they're gonna start working on that one as well.
When you say off the line, you come to the equipment.
Like if you go from Fort Myers, they gotta ship it to the dealership and then we bring it to us.
Oh, I thought you had.
Yeah, that was the first car. Remember I said it was two cars. I said you had to get them both together because of the back orders. I had so many. But he said we should have it in a couple of weeks or so. That I can do about that.
You got one on the road now?
No, it's down at Metropolitan right now. Yeah.
Who's gonna get that car?
That car is going to Officer Cox. People got to get him out that Dodge. It went back down on us again a week ago. The belt broke one time, then it was an alternator we had to put on just 2 days before that. And once we get him in that car, I'll go ahead and sell that Dodge Charger. Because I can't, I mean, it's spent $2,000-3,000 fixing that car.
Is there anything else we can get out or auction off anymore?
Nope.
Vehicles?
We don't have anything other than that Dodge. Once we get these other couple of cars in, then we have two Ford cars, which was purchased by the city. We can go ahead and do probably like that. I mean, I don't have a problem with selling them, bringing the check to the city like I normally do. But if I have to, I will keep y'all aware if I do, and we put it on gov deals so if I have opportunity to get it.
There are several vehicles in the city we need to do something with. Okay, any questions for the chief?
We will be at a firearms training too next day or so.
So the whole department, we're gonna be rotating back and forth. So, you know, seeing some officers going to and from West Georgia, that's what we're gonna be there to.
Question out of curiosity, man. Sure. The gun, did you get the gun, the new guns, and the old guns sold and all that stuff?
Mr. Bradford, that's been like a year and a half.
I know, but all of that, I knew we got the guns, but you sold it to resell
The
the
day
gun.
after y'all approved it and everything, we purchased the guns, hell, a week, 2 later.
Oh, that's not the gun, but the resale.
The
That's-
resale, I bought the check to the city hall once we did the buyback.
Oh, so that company, you didn't have to auction them, the company? did.
No, that was the whole kicker from it. I didn't want to have to get tied up in who can buy guns
Gotcha.
and checking people's records and all this stuff. So I got with the manufacturer and the guy that sells guns, and then he gave us that check for him, and then we could buy them back from him.
Gotcha, okay. I told you it was a random question, I just did not, heard. Hey, thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Record, record. Ooh,
Tell them it's not your
when you
fault.
shop with cops, when you shop with cops.
We're gonna try to do it, I think we're gonna go for around the 17th and the 21st, somewhere in there, and do it. We just still waiting on the rest of the donations to get here. And, I guess I get with Christian, see how we're gonna do these funds this year, because I don't wanna be up there with the car shutting down again. We're gonna have to do like we did maybe 3 years ago, just withdraw money and sit there, and then whatever we don't.
When you get that kind of money, just make sure you have a police escort.
And even talking about 20 cops. Other than Temple, it's still other cops out there too.
Did we get a Walmart grant yet, or did we apply for one?
Yes, we did. We should be getting pretty, they usually wait till the last minute to send it to us. So usually we're going from 1,500, they usually give anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500. So we get that from them, plus a couple other vendors that we got. A lot of people don't come out and donate until get close to that time.
One more thing, if I could, before Chief leaves. I shared this with the chief last week. The railroad, our contact with the railroad has offered to try to provide some help to our police department in buying some equipment that they'd like to have. And Chief has presented that information to me for me to pass along to them. So we're looking forward to next year, them writing a check to help get us some helpful stuff.
You tell them what it was?
Fingerprint analysis
It's
or
identification.
identification.
What we have on scene right now, we have to use a counter all the time, and we get that one person that don't want to tell us his real name and all this. So we just call it out on scene. It's a hand device, probably as big as that cell phone, and then he run his finger on it immediately when he touches it. Within a minute, it'll tell us who he is, all about it. So that's a good thing to have, even for the city. We might can use it when y'all have applicants here and you want to go through. I don't know about the application process, but we still, if you just really want to run it, find out. Somebody be willing to stick their finger on it.
Outstanding.
That's gonna be a good thing we can get.
That way, when you catch Tom on his phone driving,
That's right.
and then he don't want to tell you what his name is, you can fingerprint him and figure out who it is.
That's better than one of the others.
If we're finished, we can go home, we don't need to listen to George, right?
That's,
Well, there he is.
He's
monthly
opening the door.
report by Code Enforcement Office, including possible changes in 2019 in the job description and
I realize your latest position.
And before George gets started, my apologies to him and to you. George gave me his report today, and I got busy and didn't make copies, so we'll put copies in your boxes tomorrow.
Well, I'll just sort of verbally go over to you guys, get a copy of it. We've got about 125 cases we opened, and we've got closed about 110 this year so far. We're focusing normally on answering people's complaints right now. fog compliance, well, nine businesses have not complied with a manifest, so I mailed that letter out to them saying, you better comply or you're gonna get in trouble. We had a court case on 340 Villa Rosa Place. She pled not guilty, even though her house was burnt down. So that's got going to court on the 13th or 14th, I believe, as well as 168 Venable did not complete the conditions of his violation. And so he's coming back to court on the 14th.
He ain't doing that personally.
Did he have to be recited?
No, he was violated. The judge violated his probation. So now the judge can go, that fine applies for each separate day now. So every day he's in non-compliance can be up to $1,000 fine. And I just, don't understand why he doesn't come along and get it done. So, but we got 2 court cases next month. We had a couple soil and erosion problems, but the companies over there in Lakeland cleaned everything up like they're supposed to. Let's see. We posted 55 Wells Avenue as an unfit building. It's off in the corner behind the Mayor Harmon's old property line. It goes all the way back. There's an old white building sitting back in there. Somebody came by and complained about it. I believe it was Bert that came in. So we got that. I got a hold of the people on that, and they're supposed to be trying to get it torn down. Let's see.
Hey, the place across the tracks over next to the rec department, I noticed they're putting shrubbery up there.
Which one?
Which one?
Milner?
Milner.
Yeah, he's working with us trying to complete, he's trying to keep showing progress that he's getting the house fixed up. So as long as he's showing progress and that he's.
So putting out some shrubbery is showing.
Right, and he's supposed to have a roof, a front porch on it by December or the end of December. So figure if he's gonna do that, we'll give him the work, give him the time to work. Let's see. I've been working on updating the new, our ordinances. According to the lawyer, his name's Rob Morrow, he works for Mike and Greg. Our ordinance does not really fit the state law. Like if we have to go in and tear somebody's burnt down building down and then charge them for it like a FIFA, it's not up to date according to state code. So I'm working right now getting that updated. And I'm also working on our standards code. We have a document from 2008 that that says we acknowledge the state standards for residential buildings, home buildings, heating and air, all that kind of stuff. But ours is from 2008, and if you read it, it doesn't exactly read the way the state wants it to read now. So I'm working on that, and I should be able to present that next month. That's all I have, unless I have any questions.
What is the part-time status of your position? Did you want to talk about
Just 2 things. That George, of course, when we created this job initially, we were looking at it, Ricky Watts was working, and now that George, and we've expanded his scope of work as he's been with us, and some things that we felt like needed to be done. And we do need to go back and take a look at his job description. May need to do some modification on that job description, bring it to you, talk about because of what we've seen as needs if we have something unusual and new or different that comes along, usually just turn it over to George, and because there's probably a code in there somewhere. And then George and I have talked on several occasions about looking at the possibility of what we might do with, if not a full-time position, maybe some additional hours or some flexibility there. So, but that's just basically saying something I think we do need to look at as we move into 2019 as to what we might do. Nothing specific that we're ready to talk about.
How many hours are you working now?
I do not exceed 30 hours. Pay period, I mean, not pay period, per week.
We don't need anything on the agenda?
No, basically just letting you know that it's something I think we do need to look at, because I think all of you are aware that George has been very good in taking the initiative on things, and I've found him to be a good person to go to and say, hey, George, we need something like this. So if you look at what he's doing now, as opposed to what we were looking at the code enforcement person doing when we hired him a year ago, about a year ago, is we made some changes, obviously, or expansions.
Well, back in what was it, 08, 07, 08, 06, whenever it was, when we had a full-time codes person, that person did the inspections also, the building inspection and codes. Questions? Anything else to add?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
That concludes the Public Safety Committee.
All right, thank you, sir. Next is our Community Development Committee, chaired by Councilman Tom Wallace.
Okay, first agenda, report of the city of Temple's activities, the Christmas parade and the overall holiday season. This afternoon.
So this Saturday, December 1st, we are having our Christmas event. It's called Country Christmas. It's going to take place Saturday from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock p.m. The parade is starting at 5 o'clock. We have a new parade route this year, which is starting at Temple Elementary School. I posted the parade route on our Facebook page today, and it's going through downtown Sage Street and then ending up behind the library. And as we did the street dance for Founders Day, we are closing down part of downtown Temple. Some of the churches and different organizations are sponsoring events. We're going to have a photo booth. There's going to be a bonfire roasting marshmallows, Who Bill hairdos, and a couple of other events for everyone to attend. Also, there'll be visits with Santa Claus. Mrs. Claus is doing storytelling, hot chocolate and cookies. So this is all taking place Saturday. The tree lighting will be at 7 o'clock p.m. The Special Events Committee had a meeting today, and we do have concerns about potential bad weather for Saturday. It's predicted to have storms and rain pretty much all day Saturday. So therefore, we may have to cancel. We're hoping that the forecast changes, but we decided we will make a decision by 12 o'clock Saturday whether or not we're going to proceed with the event. And once we decide, we'll post that on our Facebook page. Again, the weather could change, but right now it's not looking so good. We also decided if we do have to cancel it, we will not be rescheduling it because it's too hard to coordinate a time with all these different organizations and people who wanted to participate. We decided, the committee decided that we will just not reschedule. So hopefully it'll be this Saturday, and we hope all of y'all will come out and support it. Mayor, do you have anything to add to this? Anything?
No, you covered it all. If it does have to be canceled, then, we'll just light the tree anyway, without the ceremony.
Do we have very many entries in the parade?
I think, we had about 8 or 9, 10
Maybe
maybe?
8, 9, 10, so it's not super big.
And we have about 10 to 12 booths,
Different
canopies that we're going to be
So
set
we did
up.
have a lot more planned, based on what we had last year. We had a lot more activities, so I hope that it does work out. But if it doesn't, we have some good ideas for next year. That's it.
I was working on making contact with Mr. Claus.
Currently, the forecast is calls for
Is it
60% chance of showers and thunderstorms through the day.
Really?
Now, it's only Monday.
Yeah, and I was looking at it yesterday where the forecast was the rain Friday and it's 60 degrees Saturday, so. And it's kind of iffy, but that's always what you have to deal with.
Okay, if nothing else. Number 2, announce the agenda for the city council monthly voting meeting on Monday, December the 3rd. Will include the public hearing and then council action on rezoning request for the property at the corner of State Street and the US Highway 78, as well as the rezoning request for the property on 155 Sage Street. Mr. Osborne.
Got just a brief memo. All of you, I think, are aware that we had Planning Commission had the public hearings on this. You will have your public hearing at 6:30 next Monday. Sage Street, across from the fire station. Also Sage Street, near downtown, former Mayor Harmon property. But there's nothing, of course, we were to do tonight. I would just make the notation to you that since I did not receive any information today on a request of the Planning Commission, the December 11th Planning Commission meeting will not be held because we're now within the 15 days we have to do the notification. So that night will be just the joint meeting of the Mayor, Council, and Planning Commission on looking at trying to wrap up some stuff. I'm sorry I'm getting behind myself, ahead of myself. Nothing in December. In January, the January meeting will be the joint meeting of the Planning Commission and the Mayor and Council. So, but no Planning Commission meeting in December.
Any questions? Okay, number 3, report on the summary of findings and recommendations from the City of Temple Farmers Market Committee.
All right, in your book, you find a memo that was put together by the committee, spearheaded by the chair of the committee, Pam Overholzer. I hope you, if you haven't already, I hope you will read through that report. As we met since June, I don't know, 4 or 5 times over the last several months, well, since June. And at any rate, I hope you'll review that information and note at the bottom the recommendation of the committee is just to really pause the idea until later, or until things appear more favorable in terms of the success of establishing the Temple Farmers Market. I don't know that requires any council action, or maybe it's just inaction, but whatever. The best way to handle that, that would be the recommendation of the committee, is just to pause. Any questions? I'll be glad to attempt to answer.
I understand that Pam did a tremendous amount of work with this.
She was our, she had a lot of experience and a lot of contacts, and so yes, she was very.
I just wondered if maybe we don't need to, maybe send something we'll recognize her at council meeting for her work. Because I understood she did above and beyond trying to make this thing work, which there's no pay for that. All you get is a thank you. Would that be something that would be appropriate?
Sure, it's something we can explore, absolutely.
We need to probably recognize all of them, not just.
Well, I was saying she was the chair, and they said that she had done, I was told she was doing a tremendous amount of legwork and on that, and that, that was coming from committee members that were saying that.
It looks like they did, from reading this, it looks like they did a thorough job investigating.
Might be a good thing to recognize both chairs of both those committees. That's, a resolution, doesn't hurt to do a resolution to honor people. Because I think that's kind of the word on both those chairs, that they're doing above and beyond. I had, if appropriate, I did have someone, I had someone email about, would like to see us do more in the realm of recognizing, You know, there was a time, and they were, I don't know what they were talking about, but they said there used to be people who were recognized as outstanding citizens or something. You know what I'm talking about?
There used to be a citizen of the month and also an employee of the month.
Employee of the month. And that, in fact, that came from Patsy Allgood, who was on the events committee. And it was her idea, her suggestions, perhaps we might want to start that back. If not, you know, the employee of the month, maybe certainly the citizen of the month, to recognize people who are volunteering. I mean, we have what, 50 that we could give it to last Thursday.
The citizens, or we run out of employees sooner or later.
Yeah,
All
but-
of them have it.
But it might be nice to, because that's something I think the mayor comes up with and does, you know, figures out how to do it, so that might be something. But I've been able to pass that on to Patsy, because she sent an email asking maybe that we kind of reinstate that. And that's probably because she's having volunteers to the garden work that she's saying that needs to be recognized for work.
Thank you, sir.
We have some citizens that.
We got some citizens doing really good.
They're doing a lot right now.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that concludes that. Number 4, report on the next steps in the process of the review and eventual adoption of a development code for the city of Temple. Mr. Austin.
The next memo basically is 2 things in there, but on the development code, make all of you aware from the last joint session that our next meeting will be Tuesday, February the 12th. In the meantime, Howard Ray and Kerry Pilgrim are supposed to be working back and forth on getting things in final order for you. And once we get some information, which I assume would be sometime probably in mid to late January, we'll be getting a draft document to you to look at. So that's where we are.
All right, number 5, initial discussion concerning how to proceed early in 2019 is work to update the city of Temple's future land use plan and map.
Well, over behind where Howard's sitting on the wall, of course, is the zoning map, and we spent several months to get a current zoning map. And once we got that done, we said, okay, now we need to probably focus on the development code. Once we get through with that, we need to go back and take a look at putting together a future land use plan and a future land use map. And so that's a project for 2019. Certainly is will be timely to look at, since we recently, for us in the county, we did an updating of the comprehensive plan. And a number of things in the comprehensive plan need to be looked at in terms of where do we need to go with future land use plan and land use map. But we'll be coming to you on that shortly after the first of the year, once we get the development code wrapped up.
We also need to decide how often we want to update the zoning map. There's been things to happen this year already, rezoning, lot splits, and boundary line, maybe, so.
Yeah.
Every 3 months, every 6 months.
Correct, because we don't need to get behind in that again.
That's when I got the shape together before.
Yeah.
That concludes that committee.
All right, thank you, sir. As noted earlier, we do not need to go into executive session, so that brings us to closing comments. Councilwoman Bivens,
No, thank you.
Mr. Walden.
No, I was hoping to ask Ms. Anderson something, but she never, I think she went to the back.
Well, she was asked if she had anything, but you weren't asked.
She was here, did she step out?
She's still here. I think that her coat's on. She's here.
Unless the chief started carrying a cute bag.
That was her phone that rang, so that's.
Yeah,
Yeah, Mr. Wallace?
Nothing other than, I think, what the Thanksgiving dinner went pretty well last Thursday.
I agree.
There was a lot of people there that did a lot of work, did excellent work.
And that's on the agenda for reporting on
We need to serve.
279.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat when you look at how it all came together, and I'll have that ready for Monday night. The number of churches and all that. Just like-
Mr. Michael?
None.
None? Well, I have a couple of things. First of all, just a reminder that the Rafa Clinic down the road is having open house of their new facilities this coming Sunday, December 2nd, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Holiday hors d'oeuvres will be served, so they reward you with a little snack to go and visit. And also, I'd like to share with you that I think it was about 2 weeks ago, thereabout, Mr. Osborne and I were visited by our railroad contact, Mr. Connor Poe, and he brought around a young lady who's starting work for the railroad, who's going to be their community relations person by the name of Miss Anna Fisher. And I would chalk it up to divine intervention. As they were driving around town, they got caught in traffic by none other than Norfolk Southern train. And it was blocking the flat track, and it was in the neighborhood of school dismissal time, and so they were able to witness with their own eyes the struggles that we sometimes have in our community with the train blocking the buses from being able to cross the track, et cetera, et cetera. So that just reinvigorated them to kind of do what they could to help us out in mitigating those circumstances to just reduce the amount of time or the number of times that occurs. And so we're thankful for that having happened the way it did, just to keep that fresh and hot on the burner. All right, did Miss Sandra come back in?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, let it know, saying aye.
Aye.
All right, adjourn.